Welcome back. You're now watching the sports segment on the Weekend Show. I'm here because Aya Adams is reporting live from Ivory Coast. Now let's talk about sports and the week that was. In basketball, the NBA has released the list of starters for the All-Star weekend, and it's going to be Team LeBron versus Giannis. I'm quite surprised I didn't see Steph Curry, who I'm a huge fan of, making the starter list, but he will be in the mix. But seeing the likes of LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Halliburton, is going to be an exciting and interesting playoffs, and I think that's in one of the first weekends in February. But our main focus for today is football and the Afcon competition happening right now in Cote d'Ivoire. And Ayo Adams will be joining us from the venue or from the host country to give us an update. Hello, Ayo. It's good to have you back this week. Good morning.
Morning, Andy. It's good to be back. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you and what's going on? I've been seeing your videos, your interviews. I'm a little bit jealous, but I know you're doing such a great job, so I'm not going to talk about that. But let's start by talking about last week. We had a conversation before Nigeria's match at this same time, and congratulations to Nigeria. Whichever way we did it, we scaled through to the next round. And it was better than my fear about one win, one draw, and one loss. We got 2 wins. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we did. I think overall, a win is a win. I guess a number of us here and even some Nigerians at home are not really convinced with the performance. But at the press conference yesterday, when one of the wingers, Moses Simon, who was the man of the match at the last game against Ben-Bissau, who was also the one who produced the attack that cost the goal, stated that, look, they just want to win. However they get the win, that we should take it that way. And I think that's been pragmatic. But I mean, it's not a bad thing. A win is a win. It's just like I said, as long as they are able to skate through any round, despite how they perform. If you also look at the defending champions Senegal and the last Afcon, they were not all fully spectacular in terms of scoring goals, but they were getting the wins. Same happened with Argentina too at the last World Cup. They were slowly building into the tournament. So it's something that you want to look at and understand, how they'll be faring. But just like the coach also mentioned at the press conference yesterday while we were sat with him, he also said the same thing, that he doesn't want to win 5-0, doesn't want to win 6-0. He just wants to win. And however it is that he gets to win, he's fine with it. So, I mean, as long as they can get us the win, we are more than fine with that.
Talking about Moses Simon, and this is where football is interesting. He got a lot of criticisms during the game. I remember seeing a tweet saying Moses Simon should never be allowed to play for Nigeria again. And then we won the game, and he's man of the match. What do you think about his performance for the full length of that match?
Moses Simon is a player who is one of our best players going forward, without a doubt. He must probably going through a bad spell in terms of maybe confidence, but he's still one of the most potent forwards we have. He was in the Afcon 11 in the last Afcon at the group stages, so you have to give him credit to that. And you also have to look at the forward too. They're not converting chances, and it's barely or not, maybe not overly his fault. At the press conference yesterday, he was also the one who paired the coach was Bezerra at the press conference yesterday, and he owned up to it that, look, missed chances happen in football, and it's not just we should not criticize only the attackers. We should not criticize everybody around the team. There's a collective thing. If we're going to be critical about them not being 100%, it should be a collective thing. He made a statement which everybody laughed about, which is that you said, even me said I missed chance, and it got the whole room, laughing. It was such an elevated environment yesterday, and even the CAF officials they allowed one of the journalists to ask questions in pidgin, and they responded in pidgin, and it was great to see that excitement in there. But talking about his performance, I mean, he was still the one who got us the goal. The header came from Ola, he took in the ball, he squared it to Victor Osimhen, and then the defender trying to prevent the striker from scoring, pushed it into his own goal. So that's one thing you have to look at. Is a potent option for us up front. We are still looking at. I'm still a big fan of him, and I still hope that Obasa Prezaro will put him in the lineup because he's a threat going up front. So if they can get it right today, just like he said yesterday, that they just want to win, and he also said it too, that they're not bothered about winning 6-7-0. If they can get one goal in, they defend it with all their lives, and I think they can, and I think they love a big game, and I think we'll see them come up today.
Let's talk about our bench. I see the list of our substitutes. we have quite a good bench, a good substitute list. Do you think those guys are being underutilized? So, for instance, in the last game, at some point, we needed the squad on the field to be rejigged, but the coach was able to let them just do it their own way or his own way. But there are concerns that we have some people who you can bring in for fresh energy and momentum to wrap up this game. What do you think about that? Are they being underutilized or?
While we spoke with him at the second press conference, that's before the Ivory Coast game, before the Guinea-Bissau game, and we asked him that, look, this is you drew your first match, you won your second match, that's 4 points. How do you want to approach the final game? Are you going to give chances to players who haven't been able to get the starting share, players like Terry Murphy, Kelechi Iheanacho, Onyedika, even the great Ahmed Musa and the likes of them? And he said, look, if he's allowed, if it was permitted for him to play 25 players, including the referees, he's going to play them. But he doesn't want to tweak with the winning team. Some of us, particularly someone like me, I feel like he should tweak it a little bit, because if you want to win a tournament, you must be able to utilize numbers. But at the last game against Guinea-Bissau, when he noticed that certain things weren't working well, Bright Osai was not really giving him what he was looking for. Frank Onyeka was already yellow carded, and he wanted to tweak it up a little bit. He took Olaina to the right, took out Bright Osai, brought in Zaidu Sanusi, took out Frank Onyeka, brought in Onyedika, who actually had a very, very good debut. Took out Joe Aribo, brought in Alex Iwobi. So you look at how he's trying to set up. But also have to look at the kind of formation that he's playing. He's playing a 3-4-3 formation. 3-4-3 formation, what that does for you is it allows you room to attack more, but then it also isolates the attackers. But then it gives you the room to at least explore other options, in the sense that when defending, it becomes a 5. I'm sure Andy, you're used to that when Antonio Conte was managing Chelsea, and that was a formation that he used to win the Premier League with Chelsea. So there's a school of thought that thinks, if there's a winning formula, don't change it. But also the school of thought that also thinks that, look, you need to tweak things a little bit. In terms of those players, I spoke with Terry Murphy in an exclusive interview, and he said to me, look, I asked him if how he felt about not making, about how he hasn't made his Afcon debut. And he said, and I quote, that, look, he understands what it feels like to be in a team. He understands his role in the team. And the day the coach would eventually reach out to him and say, look, it's time for your debut, he was going to give his 110% for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. So I don't think any one of them are lacking in terms of quality. It's just, I've always said it before we even came into the tournament, I do not want to be Jose Pizarro when it comes to picking the lineup, because we have really, really good players. At the press conference yesterday also, we had a good laugh, over 30 minutes worth of discussion. And one of the journalists there also mentioned that, what about Kelechi Iheanacho? What happens to one of our best players, in terms of Victor Osimhen, with the likes of Moses Simon? But he also said, look, I can only play 11 players, and I can only play them for 90 plus minutes. So we're hoping that, he would do some magic today in terms of pairing these players together, because we are not converting the chances. But I feel like he is looking at the point where he doesn't want to make any silly mistakes, and then it comes back to people saying things such as, "But you had a winning formula. Why did you bother about tweaking it?" So I agree in staying with his winning formula, but I'm also with the school of thought that, look, when things are not going well, you need to tweak some things up a little bit, because there are some people who just fare better in bigger games than other people. And we see the likes of Kelechi Iheanacho is a big game player. He's been very conversant with Victor Osimhen. They've played from the younger tournaments together. They know themselves well. Victor Osimhen was a leading scorer in the qualifiers, and that's because he was paired together with Terry Murphy or Awoni or Boniface. So to now see that there's a bit of lack of goals and chance conversion, he might allude to the fact that maybe that's the reason. But I mean, he knows these players better than we do. He's seen them train, so I think he's in the best place to file out a better lineup than we can.
Let's talk about the round of 16, the matchups.
Yeah. Round of 16 is going to be massive. it's a pairing that, first of all, we already have the first big game this night, which is Nigeria versus the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. And if you look at that, it's a stoke history between these two countries. Cameroon has won 5 Afcons, and out of those 5 Afcons, 3 of them have been against Nigeria. Nigeria. That is not a good record to have in our heads, but I mean we don't have a choice. And we've also won 3 Afcons, and then we've also beaten them in the last, and we beat them in 2019, 3 goals to 2, where Odion Igalo, came back, and Odion Igalo and Alex will be shown brightly in that game. That's a big game to look forward to. We also have Morocco playing South Africa. One of the biggest teams in Africa. You look at that, a brilliant team that is. We also have another big game in this qualifying stage is the host playing the defending champions Senegal, who are going to be playing Cote d'Ivoire at the Yamoussoukro Stadium. That's going to be another exciting game. Looking at Sadio Mane, Lamine Camara, Ismail Assar in that game against the likes of the Ivory Coast player, the Sangaris, the Teko Fofanas of that matchup. So those are basically like the 2 major matchups in this tournament. And you look at the teams such as Congo playing in Egypt. So at the moment, there are really no small teams in this Afcon. And to everybody I've spoken with, everybody has been saying that this is one of the best Afcons they've watched in terms of quality, team performance, and underdogs showing up, and the big boys, slacking off their feet. So I think we're in for a spectacle this next couple of days.
Let's talk about the Guineas, Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, and Guinea. They've put up a show, haven't they? Did you anticipate this?
Might. Not all of us, and I'm part of the us that didn't anticipate this too, because when CAF released the statement that I think a couple of years ago that they were going to increase the number of teams in terms of participation in this tournament, a lot of people are looking at, you want to bring in more teams, one day slack off, one day this, one day that, and I think that particularly has actually changed the overview of this game, or the fashion of this tournament. Teams like Mauritania, teams like Cape Verde, and they've come in, they've shone brightly, and they've qualified into the next round. Angola, and they've shown Namibia, they've shown how excellent they can be. The respect is still there for the bigger teams, but they've come into this tournament looking like, look, you guys never really give us a chance in the first place, so we want to play our heart out. And alluding to the teams you spoke about, but particularly the Guinea-Bissaus and the Guineas and the Equatorial Guinea. Look at Equatorial Guinea. They played them, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, in the first game. If we had taken our chances, we should have beaten them 3-1 or 4-1 in that game, but we did not. And then they picked up the bat in the second game, and they went haywire. They won their next game 4-2 against Guinea, and then they beat the host in a disastrous fashion that got the fans of Ivory Coast crying in the stadiums, and even went as far as they being destructive here in Abidjan, and they were asking us to keep safe because it was a crazy sight to see. Beating them 4-0 at their home stadium was such a big deal for them, and they also have one of the best players in the tournament at the moment. If nobody sums up the kind of performance that he has in a man of Emilio Insue, he might go on to win the top scorer of the tournament and also be the best player of the tournament. He's scored 5 goals so far in two matches. He's 34-year-old and he plays in the La Liga 3rd division. How big of a breakthrough is that for a player? And we have bigger talents here who haven't even shown up yet. So the Equatorial Guineas and the Guinea is going to be another spectacular game to see. And I still think that Emilio Insue, I think, is just a ceiling. His ceiling is not even there yet. I mean, he's already gotten 5 goals in the group stages. I think there's still a lot more to look out for him.
I think it's ridiculously amazing. I was watching on Instagram about how there was this post about there's this player who has played in Afcon, played the game, flew all the way back to La Liga, and scored, I think, was it 2 goals in the last game. And so this is very good for... Was he the same person? No?
No, he wasn't the same person. It was Iñaki Williams of Ghana.
Yes,
he left as Ghana got crashed out. He flew back to Spain and he knocked out Barcelona in the Copa del Rey. It's not a good thing for me. I'm a Barcelona fan, so I'm not happy that.
That's true. So good for you. I'm not sorry for you because you're a Chelsea hater. I wonder why he didn't do that for Ghana in Afcon. But this does shed a positive light on African football because the world is watching. Their coaches, the teams are watching. Now, for the average football fan, a question a lot of people asked in the last week was, how is Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire still in the competition? What mathematics and permutation? Talk to us about this best loser scenario.
Okay, so usually the Afcon are paired in groups, and I think when you finish the knockout stage, when you finish the group stages, the next round goes straight into the quarterfinals. But because of the inclusion of more teams in the competition, there's now allowed room for, so there are 6 groups, and 2 teams will qualify out of 6 groups. So 6 by 2 makes it 12. that's not enough for round of 16. So they'll pick the best loser, and they'll pick the four best losers. So the four best losers majorly meaning you must have won a game or you must have not lost a game. So the permutations were there. So Ivory Coast, who had won their first game against Guinea 2-0, lost their second game to Nigeria 1-0, and lost their third game to Equatorial Guinea 4-0, were primed for the best losers, but they were still hopeful. So they had two opportunities to scale out of the group. So they were waiting for other people to come in their favor. If you were here the night that Morocco defeated Namibia, I think it was chaotic here in Ivory Coast. There were screams, kids, mothers, fathers, uncles and sisters were on the streets, and they were liven up. They were just screaming, and they were screaming Akim Ziyech's name because he was the one who scored the goal for Morocco, which saw them progress into the next round. So even Ghana had an opportunity, but Ghana's opportunity was heavily reliant on another team beating Senegal, but that didn't happen. So the reason that happened is even the reason why we in Nigeria are playing Cameroon, who was second and second. A lot of people also reached out to me, what's going on? Why are you second playing second? That's not the right permutation. I'm like, yes, that's because the structure of the tournament has changed, and so because of the inclusion of more teams, now allowed them to permutate differently, which now sees teams who were primed to be going out now having another chance to go into the next round. So that's just basically it. Because of the inclusion of more teams created room for best losers, and then the best losers are, if you've won a game, you're primed to be a best loser, and then you scale up into the next round.
So I want to hear your prediction for the 8 teams that you think will scale through this round, and then your prediction for the Nigeria-Cameroon game tonight.
Okay, permit me to let me look at my phone and get out those fixtures and look at them properly. So we have Angola playing Namibia. If I'm going to look at Angola playing Namibia, I'm going to say I've seen Angola play, I've seen Namibia play, but I think Angola plays better football. So I'd go with Angola on that part.
I'll go with Angola as well.
Yeah. Nigeria is going to be playing Cameroon. I don't think I have a choice.
You have only one answer.
I have only one answer, which is Nigeria going through. And just like the coach said yesterday, I don't really care if they score 5 or 10 or 1, as long as we go through. Equatorial Guinea plays Guinea. Guinea has also not been bad in this tournament, but they lost their final game of the group stages against Senegal 2-0. So, and then Equatorial Guinea has the current top scorer in the tournament, which I'm also still looking at them to continue to develop themselves into the tournament. So Equatorial Guinea goes through for me. Egypt and DR Congo also didn't. They also showed up. They all held their own. They played against Morocco. They did not lose. They held their own to the very end. They are playing an Egypt side who never won a game in the group stages. Egypt drew all their games 2-2, 2-2, 2-2, and they qualified with 3 points. So you look at Egypt now. They are a team who gradually builds themselves into the tournament. So I'm leaning towards Egypt on that factor. Cape Verde, Mauritania will probably be another game on the underdogs. They are the underdogs of this tournament. Both teams, they've been able to scale through. These are teams who, if you look at them a couple of years ago, you'd not really see them in terms of development. But you look at them, they've surged really higher. I interviewed Rodriguez, who's one of their oldest players in Cape Verde, and he stated that, look, they're taking it's one step at a time. They're winning, they're taking their game a step at a time. They're not really scared of anybody. They respect their opponent, but they're not really scared. So Cape Verde for me against Mauritania. Senegal plays Ivory Coast. This is a very, very dicey match. Aside the Nigerian game, this is going to be the biggest game, and it's like 8 hours. It's like 8 hours away to and fro, and we are all pumped that we want to go watch that match after Nigeria's game, in a couple of days' time. And but something about knockout stages is that it's unpredictable. Anybody can go through. And for me, in as much as everybody's looking at Senegal to go through, I'm also looking at Senegal to go through. But I'm looking at the fact that Ivory Coast might just show up because, they've been given a lease of life in this tournament, and they will probably want to, enhance their performance in terms of, representing as a host nation. But I think Senegal will still go through in that game. Senegal have been really, really commendable. They're the only teams who qualify with 9 points, and they have this young player called Lamine Camara who has been showing up, Ismail Assar, and then their most experienced player, Sadio Mane, who's just been there supporting the team. Mali, Burkina Faso, another matchup that is worthy of being watched. I'll go with Mali on that one. Morocco, South Africa, and lean towards Morocco because they play really beautiful football. Though South Africa has also been good in this tournament, but I don't think they have the firepower to take down the Moroccans. So yeah, those are my teams going through.
Hi Adams, thank you so much. To follow up on what's going on, you can follow Ayo on Instagram at Ayo Adams. I think, and there's some other pages where they can follow up your updates. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody that's watching this across the world, my name is Ayo Adams, and you can follow me on at Ayo Adams on Instagram, on Twitter at Ayo Adams. There's a double S. The S is double. So yeah, keep locked. We keep giving you, all the live feeds from here at Abidjan.
Okay, and for our viewers, you can also follow The Weekend Show NG on Facebook, Instagram, and X for more updates and also to catch up with Ayo Adams. Thank you so much, Ayo. We'll get our update from you next week. Keep having fun and make the most of it. We love your interviews. The interview with Bassi, Kevin Bassi, has been one of the funniest where he was like, I'm just a defender. Or,
I'm just defending, and it's gone viral. Oh my God.
It
gone
has.
viral.
Well done, Ayo.
Yeah.
We're proud of you. We look forward
Thank
to
you.
hearing more from you next week while you're there,
All
and
right.
stay safe. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we have the Entrepreneur Spotlight on The Weekend Show. Don't go away.